Let's welcome back Coach Coughlan, assistant coach at Laney College. Coach, you're the man. What's up? How's it going?
It's going good, man. I appreciate you having me on again. I always like talking sports and life and all the fun stuff. And how you doing?
Well, I'm good, but I'm just tired. The last 2 weeks, I've told my wife, I'm like, I don't know if I'm getting sick or what it is. I'm just more like exhausted. She goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, second period, I yawned probably 65 times. I'm exhausted. Like, when you're coaching and that starts happening, your body's like, you should be sick if you weren't coaching, but since you're coaching, you're just going to be exhausted instead."
No doubt. I always had the good fortune my body would wait until the end of the season every year. And when I was the head football coach at the high school, as soon as the season was over, I never took a day off from school
Uh-huh.
because I
Yeah.
figured if I'm telling these guys to be here all the time, I got to show the example. And I
Right.
would take I'd take a Friday and a Monday and take the wife. We go to Lake Tahoe or go somewhere, and halfway getting there, I'd start getting the sniffles, and
Yep.
by the time we got wherever we were, I'd be full blown sick.
Yep.
You're on vacation, you got to suck it up and go. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is the hardest time. You know, you get those couple weeks off at Christmas, and then you come back, and right. I think the start of the second semester up to spring break, that's the toughest haul there is.
Uh-huh. That's why, like, so we were fortunate this year, like, made the playoffs this year for the school. First time since 2014 that school has made the playoffs. So it was like awesome. And then we made the second round. So we went further. And then we lost the second round on a Friday. That Saturday, you don't even really relax because you're mad about the game. You're playing in your head. Sunday, you kind of have a day off, kind of not. Then Monday, basketball tryouts. So it was like it was nothing. So I remember that first 2 weeks, I was the biggest grouch guy you ever saw. And I thought to myself, why wasn't I like this last year? And they go, "Steve, we didn't make the playoffs, so you had 2 weeks off before doing anything." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." I forgot. Like that 2 weeks off saved my life. And I was like, I wouldn't trade it for the world though to go to the second round. I was like, oh,
Oh yeah.
fine.
Well, it's like the year we won the state championship. It was a bye week at the end of the season,
Hmm.
and then 3 more weeks. So it was a month more of football,
Yeah.
and I and not just football, but grading the
Hmm.
games
Yep.
because I grade. I'm still old school enough to where I do it pen and paper,
Yeah.
but I grade every play, and
Hmm.
that way when the guys are putting together their highlight film, on the top of every game is every play clip, the number of every clip on huddle,
Right.
their good plays, their corrections, and anytime it's a highlight one, I circle it. Well, but I mean, I'm grading three guys, sometimes four if we're doing
Hmm.
the certain packages, and we like to pass the ball a lot. So I mean, some games I'm grading 90 plays,
Right.
and it's just it takes a super long time.
Hmm.
You know, I always, but I always, as soon as I'm done, I take a picture of it and put it out on the group text to everybody in the D line group so they know their grades right then and there. And if I'm late with it, they're texting me. They're like, "Where is it?"
Yeah. They're like, "Are you
But this
okay?"
year, yeah, this year it was kind of the opposite. This was probably the worst season we've had at Laney since in 15 years. We finished 4-6. And if we would have finished 5-5, we would have been eligible for a bowl game, which still would have meant the bye week at the end of the season,
Right.
and then the bowl game after that. And it was just it was almost like a sigh of relief. I mean, you
Hmm.
always want an extra game, it just for status, for recruiting, for guys to be able to get more highlights on film so they can get out. But
Right.
that was one of those ones where it's like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
So so
Especially
then we
when
got to go. Go ahead.
especially when it's one of those seasons, because the year before we were 2-7, the year before we were 0-9. Like we love it, but then once we get to like week 7, 8, we're like, and then when you're kind of grinding through it, then when it's done, you're like, okay, now we can regroup a little bit because we're like, what the hell went wrong? Like trying to
I
figure that
know.
out.
Yeah, and when I was coaching the head coach at the high school, I mean, it was my first year was 0-10 year, and then we went 1-9, and then we went 2-8, and then we went 4-6. And it's just oh,
Yeah.
I don't miss that. And we've been lucky enough to have a really good run, the last 6-7 years at Laney, and this year it was one of those ones where I hate to say usually with my sophomores I hate to see them go,
Mhm.
and this year's group it's like, hey, don't let the door hit you on the way out, fellas.
Well, I was gonna say, like, you guys have had a lot of success. So for this to happen, like, what was that like going through it? Like, was there frustrations? Did frustrations start to reveal themselves? And
Yeah, I mean, it just I, this is bad to say. I, I don't like losing. I
yeah,
don't. It's not. I don't know. I mean, you hear Vince Lombardi talk. It's everything. It's the only thing. It's winning is always better than not winning.
right,
And but you're there to develop guys, and I don't mind taking a couple L's with a good group of dudes
right.
that are always trying to get better. And we were regressing
Hmm.
instead of getting better later on in the season. And once I started making some personnel changes, the guys that we replaced were, well, I've been giving effort all year. Well, okay, you've been giving effort, but you've been making mistakes.
Hmm.
You're a lot of assignment errors. We're not, we got more personal fouls this year than as long as I can remember. And that's just one of those things that I can't stand.
Yeah, right.
I always tell my guys, it's like, look, they got okay, but they did this. Hey, you got the next play, and if you
Hmm.
can't get that guy, you get his friend, and you just show that you're upset about what happened by abusing him on the next play and making something happen.
Right.
And my guys, I mean, it got so bad. We played Delta College, and I think our records were even at the time, so they weren't having a great year, and we played them in Stockton, which is probably about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from Oakland. And it got so bad. There was a melee after the game, and things weren't mapped out too well about the handshake line and who goes where. And brawls started breaking out. And now I can add getting pepper sprayed by the police
Wow.
to my list of coaching accomplishments. You
Jesus.
know, I'm going around trying to pull guys off of piles so nobody gets hurt. And all of a sudden my eye starts burning. And I'm like, what's going on? And I smell alcohol.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I'm thinking, did somebody just like squirt? Did somebody bring a cocktail to the game and throw? And, but the police were shooting it up in the air, and it
Oh.
was just raining down. And yeah, that pepper spray stuff's no fun. And
Oh.
it was one of those things that I will never. Anytime I've ever said things can't get any worse, I mean, a UFO lands in the middle of the field, or a freak accident happens to somebody, or the bus breaks down. No matter, and we were driving that game, and one of the other coaches said, "I don't think things can get any worse." I said, "You just officially jinxed us." And that guy was buying us all beers after the game. It's like
Right. Right.
you jinxed us. My eye still burns. You're buying beers.
That's crazy. Crazy. Because I never seen a coach get thrown out. That happened this year. And I was like, I've never seen that before. And they're like, shut up. Because that means one of us is going to get thrown out. Like something's going to happen. Pepper spray. Jesus Christ.
I know it. And then we're whenever we have away games, we get food from a local restaurant, whether it's pizzas or burritos or things like that. And I'm sitting there holding my eye, handing out burritos after the game, and with a head on a swivel because their field is pretty bad. Their artificial turf, and so we played at a local high school. Well, the boys' locker room is right next to the girls' locker room, and
Oh, it's
you
not
got to be
good.
on the wall. Yeah, and some of those guys take a little while to calm down after some crap like that. And
Well, it didn't happen to us, but a team we played right before we played the team in basketball this year, I saw a coach and he goes, we were in a brawl last night. And I was like, well, what happened? he goes, well, the locker rooms at this one school, they're right by each other. Like literally the benches are here and then they just funnel in to their locker room. They just start wailing on a kid, sent him to the hospital, broke all side of his face. Like literally everything here is broken. And I'm like, Jesus, like what happened? He goes, I don't know. They beat us. And then they just wail on a kid after they beat us. It was just, I'm like, well, why'd you even let the kids go in front by them? Like you'd be like, wait, don't even go near there.
I
I
know
don't
we
get it.
had to we had to leave everything on the sideline and get the kids over to a safe area after it all broke up. And I'd find out where my OCD shows itself because I'm in charge of the headsets for the defense.
Mhm.
So they, I get them, I turn them on, I put them all, plug them all in, set them all up, make sure we're home and away, all the little things you got to do. And as soon as the game's over, they come and give me everything, and then I put it back in the case so it's ready to go.
Mhm.
And the whole time I'm sitting there, it's just like I don't have the case, because you get a routine and you got your jobs and
Yeah.
you got to do all that stuff. And they're just like, just leave it all on the sideline right now. We'll come back and get it. It's just like, damn it.
I'm the same way. I have a routine. Like we all have a routine. And if it, I tell my wife works with kids with disabilities, and sometimes I go, I think I'm on the spectrum because I have to do this, I have to do this. Like I have a routine, just like kids that have special needs. And I'm like, that might be me too, because I have to even driving to work, like I have to like leave at exactly this time or this time. If I don't, I freak out. Like it could be 2 minutes and I'm freaking out. I'm like, I'm gonna be late. Steve, you're
I
getting there
know it.
20 minutes early. I'm like, I know, but still.
There, from where the high school is that I work at, I could go one of two different ways to Oakland, and they're within minutes of each other. But I go the way I always go, and if something happens, I get a call like, "Hey, there's a bad accident. You got to go the other way," or I check my phone,
Yeah.
and I go the other way, and I'm just like, I can't stand this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
what's
happened to me a
crazy is
couple times.
the other way has the view of the bay, and
Mhm.
it's a scenic wise, it's way better, but I gotta go a certain way to work. I gotta leave a certain time. I mean, every morning I gotta put my left sock on before my right sock. So I totally get it.
Yeah. I have to, I don't know if this is good. You'll make fun of me. I have to know what I have to have everything ready the next day. Like, okay, here's what I'm wearing tomorrow, and I have to lay it out because it's like a routine. Like, I'm not saying I press it or anything. I just wear t-shirts, obviously. It's like
Sure.
coaching gear. But it's like, all right, it's here. There's my shoes. I get up and go to the gym in the morning. They're here. So I could just get up, use the bathroom, change, go. Like that's all I need to do. And if I don't do that, then I freak out when I wake up. I'm like, oh God, now I'm rushing, trying to grab something even though
Yeah.
it's stupid. It's like, oh, here's a football shirt. Like it's stupid. Like I could just wear that.
I will never make fun of this, and I'll do you one better. I have 5 pairs of the same shorts,
Yep.
so I just wear those.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get a sponsorship from Fresh Clean Tees because I have a stack of I have 20 black t-shirts and like 5 gray ones. And today I'm being risky and I'm wearing the gray one. And it just I saw a documentary once and it was this guy in New Zealand. He invented something health wise that's like saved millions of lives and made it to where it only cost pennies for whatever it was. And this guy's a genius. Half of the year he wears black shorts and a black t-shirt, and the other half of the year he wears white shorts and a white t-shirt. Now
Oh,
I spill too much crap on myself to ever go back to a white t-shirt again.
yeah.
So it's just the kids at the high school are like, you wear the same shirt every day. I said, no, I have 20 of the same shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my wife always waits. She's like, oh, you have so many of these things. I'll just wait to wash them. I'm like, no, I need you to wash them now so that I can see them stacked on top of my dresser because it gives me comfort because then
Yeah.
I can just go and grab another t-shirt and be ready to go.
Yep. I'm the same way. I have practice gear, I have school, and it's got to be stacked up. I do my own stuff. I have to stack it up. You got all these clothes. I'm like, but I need them. I need them for something.
I know.
It's so bad. Because I think the last time we were here, you're like, you're about that gear and I'm about that gear. So when other sports have something, I'm like, yeah, give me a shirt. Yeah, give me this. Like, oh, track coach, give me something. Give me this. So it's just stacked up. Where are you going to wear that? Well, I can wear it to practice because I got to rep the other sports. So I just have piles. And then when we have this, like the cancer for October, we always get a shirt to wear, like a pink shirt, and it's like, well, you already have them from last year. I'm like, yeah, but that's last year. I gotta get the one this year.
I know. I have in my closet, I probably have 20 hoodies,
Yep.
and I get the same thing all the time. Do you really need all this? And it's
Yep.
like, well, yes, I do need all
Yep.
this. I have a box from the college that we used to coach at dropped football. And
Okay.
that's what led to a couple of us going over to Laney. And I have a box in my closet that has all my old gear from there. I don't know why I need it. I don't even know if half of it fits me anymore. And but for whatever reason, I can't get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't. I have stuff. I coached football at different schools, and it's just sitting in there. And it's like, well, you don't coach there anymore. And in the back of my mind, I go, but this is a nice half zip. You just can't throw that away. And then the back also my mind, since I always hop schools, sometimes like, well, what if I go back? Then I need it.
Right? I know.
Then I need it. So the head coach doesn't have to buy me new stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, don't worry, I have the stuff from 2018. Like it's okay, I'll just wear that. I'm
I'm
all
turning
about it.
into that adult. Huh?
I said I'm all about it. I'm all about
I
it.
know. I'm turning into that adult where I used to go to my dad's house and he's always, oh, here, he would just try to give me all this stuff. And I'm like, I
Yeah,
got enough stuff, Dad. And he's trying to purge. And now every time I'm like, you want this shirt, you want this
yeah,
hoodie.
yeah, yeah.
And I even put it out on social media to like all my ex players. I'm going to be sitting outside my house for an hour. If you want some stuff, come get it. And there are guys that come get it because, I mean, part of it was at Solano College where we were. That's where I played at.
Okay,
And then I got to coach there. So, it's kind of like a double connection to things.
right.
But then you just say, I'm never going to wear this stuff again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I even have high school shirts still in there somewhere, probably. Like it's bad. I'll never look at it again. Well, I can't get rid of that playoff shirt. Like that was a fun time. It's got to stay in there. That's like a large, Steve. I'm like, yeah, I don't fit in that no more, but it's still there.
I know.
Like I'll never be a large ever again in my life. And I'm like, but there was a time. I want people to know there was a time. Like large, extra large. That was me. Now I'm up in the double X era. Like, nope. Nope.
I know. Well, now what's killing me is everything's slim fit.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's like I gotta go up a size or two just because whatever used to fit me, it's like that's not a 2X anymore.
No, I'm the same way. That's why I'm like the biggest coach and I am embarrassed. I hate that text. Hey, tell me your sizes for the coaching gear. And you see like medium, large, extra large. And I'm like, I'm the guy, what are you getting? Because I have to know. And they go, oh, it's a Nike half zip. All right, 3X. And you're like the biggest guy. And I have to like put in parentheses because I'm a big guy. And I get it. And they go, hey, it's a little big. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, you don't know what material it is. I have to get it bigger.
No doubt. Hey, putting something on that's a little oversized, that's a lot easier to get over than putting on something where you're just like, oh,
Yep. Yep.
here we
Especially if you're
go.
coaching in it. You're like, I don't want to go out there. Can I just go to
I
the
know.
box so they don't see me?
And now, um, my buddy that's in charge of picking out the gear a lot, he gets a lot of the Nike golf stuff,
Hmm.
because it looks nice, and then we
Yep.
get our logos put on it, and it's like, well, the Nike golf stuff stops at a certain size,
Yes, it does.
and there's a couple of us. It's like, well, I'm like, well, where's mine of this? And well, they don't have that one, and your size, buddy. We'll figure something out. And it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Same way. Same way. Um, so since the season was a little rough and you talked about that, did you have to like scale anything back on defense because of that, or was it like you guys got to
Oh,
figure this out?
we had to probably cut our playbook by about 30-40%,
Mm,
just because we had guys with learning disabilities. We had guys that just didn't put in the time. It's like when you go and look at everybody's huddle time,
mhm.
and some of the guys in my position group, the only film they watched was the film that we would watch in our meetings during the week. And it's like, you gotta go do this. And then they get mad at me because I wouldn't put them in on certain packages.
Yeah.
And why? But you don't be, I never want to go back to just being in, you're in a 1, you're in a 3, you're in a 5, let's go. Because I mean, if you have guys that are just talent wise superior, you can get away with that.
Right.
But at our level, wherever they go from Laney, they're going to get a inch thick playbook
Uh-huh.
when they get to the 4-year school. And we don't do them a service by just, oh, this time you're in a 1, this time you're in a 3. It's like, we run zone pressures and we slant. We have different types of slants depending on, what we're trying to do with it. And we had to take a lot of it out. Even there's something we do because we're a 3-4 defense.
Hmm.
So most of our calls would just be left to right, and that's easy. But
Yeah.
then we also started throwing in an eagle call where we would flop the end in the tackle to the strength. So now if you're normally we were running that pressure from the left, it's the same call, but because we're an eagle, now we're running that pressure from the right. And there's no way our guys could go. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like if I was in charge, if I didn't have coaches that could do it, like at a high school, it's pretty hard to grade 11 guys,
Hmm.
by yourself. I
Right.
used to do it a million years ago, and it would take me 5 hours, and I'd need a nap. And
Hmm.
but grading, it's just like when I started seeing all the corrections, assignment, 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 assignment. It's like, oh, we got to make some changes here, boys,
Right.
because
I've been there.
we weren't containing, got guys going the wrong way on a lot of things, because on a lot of our zone pressures, it's like, okay, you got to go 2 gaps over, but you better get there because there's a linebacker screaming right off your hip into the other gap.
Right.
And you look at the tape and they're running into each other and guys going the wrong way. And it's embarrassing. I had one that we did at the game where we all got pepper sprayed. I did a last minute substitution, and my guy's coming out and he's just jogging, and I'm like, you got to run. I'm screaming, you got to run, you got to run. And then the play went off before he got off the field. We got a penalty, and that's an embarrassment to me.
Hmm.
And then you get the disappointing look from your coordinator, and then
Hmm.
then your head coach says, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And it's just like,
Hmm.
oh my god. And then management wise, I mean, I guess I could just roll it downhill and get all over my guy. But then I think to myself, well, if you weren't sprinting off the field, that's my fault for not instilling the need for you to sprint off the field at all times.
Right.
But you just got to sit there and eat that penalty and feel bad about yourself for a little bit.
Yeah. Um, because like with you, like you said with you guys, you only get them for 2 years, maybe a year. So it's like I don't even know how to say this. Like maybe we all assume some kids can do this, and it's one of those things like, really, you can't do this? Like I think that's just to myself sometimes, you don't know that, and it's like, is your football IQ not high? And then it's like, wow, I didn't know I had to tell you to sprint off the field,
I know.
like, or hey, I didn't know I needed to tell you that you don't spin move here in the middle because it's easy to block you when you spin move in the middle when there's just one of you and 3 of them.
Right.
I saw Dwight Freeney do it. That's Dwight Freeney, like, or I saw someone in Alabama do it. Well, that's Alabama. Can't do that.
Like, are you a 5-star recruit? Yeah, it's kind of funny. I have a rule. If you throw a spin move, it better work.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't work, I'm flipping you off, and I'm
Hmm.
flipping you off with both hands. And they all know. I give them a little more freedom when we go do one-on-ones with the O-line, because that's the time to try things out.
Right.
But even then, I mean, nobody really does it right,
No.
you know. And I studied. I had a lot of Rod Marinelli stuff,
Hmm.
and he was really big, the ice pick move and sitting down and all that. And I've gone back and forth. It's kind of like a rip move. You
Yeah.
you use it, you don't, then I get out of, I don't like it, I don't want to use it, and then you say, okay, well, there's certain times where you have to use it.
Hmm.
If I go like a single or a double fork on a pass
Yeah.
rush move, I'm not gonna throw an over up here. I'm gonna come with that rip. And then I started getting back into studying some of the rip things and going back. I always go back to Pete Jenkins, and I
Hmm.
and I look at all the Pete Jenkins stuff just because that's the guy that where it all made sense, just the way he broke it down and the teaching cues and just the way he presents. And
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, now we're going to throw that rip, and now you're going to lift and turn and all those things. But it's just like, but let's not throw the rip unless we absolutely have to throw the rip. And same thing
Hmm.
with the spin. I've seen now where Bosa with the Niners, and then Hutchinson with Detroit, now where they're setting it up and they're doing that spin, but then they're also counter spinning out of the spin, and it's
Hmm.
really working for them. But it's just, you got to be a special guy. You got to be
Yeah.
super twitchy. And my thing is, if you're super twitchy, why not just beat them with speed and throw that move, knock some hands away, and get a duck under and just go?
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Because I don't coach D line anymore, but like the head coach gave me freedom to like not tell people what to do, but if I'm seeing the D line do something, to come tell him, like, hey, like this is happening, stop spinning, they're doing this. And they're like, yeah, but the running back's here, so if I spin, I'm gonna go get him. And I'm like, well, that means a gap's opened up and a linebacker should be shooting through, in my opinion. If that tackle's taking you all the way out, there's a linebacker. Like, yeah, I understand you want to spin, but if you're playing a good tackle, he's just going to block you into the ground, and it's legal.
No doubt. I The one thing I started emphasizing that's helped me out with that is we talk to them about horizontal and vertical pads.
Hmm.
If that guy's facing you with horizontal pads, you got to hit that outside. You can't go back inside, no funky stuff. But when he opens up to the sideline,
Yeah.
and you see vertical pads, then I've given them a little bit, okay, if you feel that and he's on your back shoulder, okay, you could spin inside. I'd rather they see it sooner and just counter club,
Hmm.
so they can keep their eyes on the quarterback. That's the big thing about stuff like that. Anytime you turn your back to your opponent, I
Hmm.
just think that this can't be right. And
No.
I played O line in college, so it's just like, go ahead and spin.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit in the chair and just patty cake you
Yep.
wherever you want to go, buddy.
Yep.
And
That I tell them that too, like because we had a couple guys, they didn't really start both ways, but they practiced for defense too. And so when they come to me for offense, and I'm like, hey, you see the scout guy just spun? Well, this is how you beat it. And they're like, yeah, but they were telling us down there, like, no, 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 let me teach you how to beat it now. Like when they spin inside, cool, your strong legs here, take them that way. Even drive them that way. I don't even care. Like if you're not quick enough together, just drive them that way. Our quarterback will shift this way because they're not staying where they're supposed to be. Because in our defense, I know for a fact he's not supposed to go there. He's got the C gap. So when he does that, good luck. Nobody's there. Now, if I can tell that boom and you see a linebacker coming around, yeah, it's a little different. Just a hair.
no doubt. But we're such a gap sound defense. We don't emphasize crash and scrape. We
Mhm.
don't emphasize. I've been in other systems where it's always like, hey, do what you do. The linebacker will make you right. It's like, well, no, the linebacker has got to get to this gap. So that means you have to be in this gap.
Mhm.
And because we're a 3-4, we call it bang, but it's just a knockback technique. And it's like, well, you have to knock that guy back and get your eyes in your gap, because if you're not holding that gap down, because even though it's like a two gap technique where you have a gap responsibility. So it's like you can't get beat inside, but if they release outside, then just play it inside out and get your eyes where you got to go. And those guys, like especially this year, my guys are just vacating and just want to get outside for pass. It's like, okay, that's a hell of a pass rush, but you know that was a run play, kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, like, if you said you had to scale it back, did you have to scale back and do more teaching basic stuff than ever before, and it couldn't advance as much?
I mean, I'm always a big stickler for fundamentals. You
Hmm.
know, we get on the sled every day. We run our I do a lot of 2-on-1 things just so that, you know, they can see smaller picture. But it, they would do it during the week,
Yeah.
and then and the bad part is probably three of the more athletic guys we've had in a while. You know, so running, jumping, doing things, you know, but just football, like you said, football IQ between the
Yeah.
ears. And one of them was really honest. You know, he's like, Coach, I didn't have to worry about any of this stuff in high school. They just said line up and go.
Yeah.
And I get that. You know, I still go back to Rex Ryan. Football is a simple game made complicated by coaches.
Hmm.
And and I don't think I get into the detail, you know, just to prove myself or say I earned what I make for coaching. I mean, you kind of the higher up levels you go, you have to do it because somebody's going to scheme ways to take advantage of your simplicity.
Right.
You know, we play Butte College and they run a pro style offense, but they also, you know, a lot of power, a lot of counter, a lot of tight end wing shifts and things like that. And they started whamming my nose
Yeah.
with the little sniffer back,
Yeah.
and that's just something I never. It happened, and I was like, I've never seen that before. I mean, I've seen it in college and pro games. I mean, I really like I think it was when Kaepernick was with the 49ers when they ran power 20 different ways.
Yeah.
And and but it was one of those things. It was like, wow. And if you stay in what you're always in, you know, you're going to run into stuff like that. Because the three conferences, there's a couple teams that don't do very much. They just line up in 2x2 10 and run zone the entire day, and you don't have to think as much. And then you get teams that are you know, tweaking power and tweaking counter and putting that fullback up in weird places. And I mean, the one that gives us the most grief is you flex the tight end up a little bit and put the wing in between the tackle and the tight end.
Mhm.
I mean, and it's a pretty simple move, but when the guys see it on the field, they don't know what to do with it.
Right.
You know, people, you know, we'd say, well, treat that wing like the new tight end. You
Yeah.
know, we've gotten to the point now where, like, if we get wings, we don't even, I mean, we call it twin because it's a tackle or a tight end and a wing, and they're trying to be the same. That was my
Right.
contribution a couple years ago. I was really proud of myself. I was like,
There you go.
let's call
Like,
it, let's call it twin. But, you know, it just identifying that guy as a tight end. What, like this year, we played a school and the big time power team, and you know, we've got a few. If we know they're running power, we had a few tricks for them. You know, where tilt the backside nose, put them in a one and tilt them on the center, and then take the three technique and tilt him on the guard. That
mhm.
way, the center has to block back on the tilted nose, and now that tilted three can just get in the hip pocket of the puller. And we were doing great things. You know, if they come back and run counter on you, you're a little screwed. But like this year, our linebackers are taught to flow over the top and fit on the outside and the inside shoulder of the pulling guard. They started winding it to backside A, and nobody was there,
Hmm.
and it killed us on a couple plays, and it was the difference of the game. And it's just like, geez,
Well, then it's like I wish we had everything installed because then we could have adjusted. But if they can't get this stuff, then we can't do this.
right. And you know, Josh Ramos, our defensive coordinator, you know, me and him have been coaching together for 20 years now. 20 plus years. And he would just look at me. He's like, if we could run this, we could stop that. I get it,
Yep.
but it's like those little nuggets of wisdom that you get from the old time coaches when you first start out.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to be around a really good group of guys that had a ton of football experience and success at a lot of different levels. And you hear all those cliche kind of things, and then they make sense. It's not what you know; it's what you can get them to do. And
Right.
we could install 9 things this week, and if we run them all wrong, where are we going to be? Let's try and run these 2 or 3 things correctly and just roll the dice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you see those moments in the game where it's like, okay, one of those 9 things we could have installed would have been really good to use right here. But what are the odds if they can't run the basic stuff 100% of the time? You can't get fancy. I mean, I guess if things are so bad, you could just try to smoke and mirror things.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, to me, that's like panic time.
Right.
And
And like, because defenses, you got like defense coordinators and defensive guys are smart. They'll out formation the offense and line up differently and call the same thing 4 times in a row. But it's because they're calling the same thing that many times just because they're moving them. They're like, well, I still have the same responsibility. I'm just a gap over, or the linebacker's just lined up here. They roll somebody, a different guy down, and it takes away some for the quarterback. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Like you have to teach them that, but you're still running cover 3 or cover 2, whatever you're doing, or man, but you're just moving, and that screws
yeah,
them up. But then also, you have to trust those guys are just going to be athletes and make a play. Also, that's part of
we got lucky and we finished the season out with teams that just threw the ball 70% of the time. So that allowed us to line up in our 4-2-5,
it. Mhm.
which I mean, we have pressures out of that, we have slants out of that. There's different things, but it allowed us to get a little more simple.
Yeah.
And then you have to ask yourself, I mean, then people say, well, you should have ran that all year long. It's like, well, no, because if we ran that 4-2-5 against, tight end wing or 21 personnel, they'd eat us alive.
Hmm. I love when they
You
say
know,
that. Why'd you do this all year? Because this team does this and this other team does this, offense or defense. Hey, that time. Well, why don't we do this on offense this week or whatever? It's like, well, because the other team ran this defense, so we can't do this. Like some things you just can't do. Like, hey, we're not going to be able to do this week because of what they're going to do. They're going to take something
yeah,
away, so we had to do this. The armchair coaches up there in the stands.
I know.
It's the worst.
That's the best part about community college football is it's almost like it's like HIPAA. They're 18 years old. We don't have to talk to, the parents want to talk to about playing time or why'd you do this, why'd you do that. It's like, oh no, we can't talk, sir. We're not doing anything.
Yeah, I don't
Now
need.
when things are going bad, you try to get everything picked up and get off the field a little quicker so you
Mhm.
don't have to hear anybody.
Oh yeah, like our first round playoff. So all year for offense, we've practiced shifting. We had like 3 things to just shift to different things. We didn't use it one time all year. And even the players are like, well, we practiced this. Why haven't we done it? And it's like, because if you don't need to, we're not going to. We're going to save it. So we pulled it out the first round of the playoffs and it just messed with the defense. Never been on film. We're getting it on balance sets. Like, wait a minute. The guard and tackle both went to this side with a tight end, like all that type of stuff. And they had to call 2 timeouts. All I heard was, where was that all year? And I'm like, you save it for the playoffs. This is why. We could have beat so and so. We went 6-3 in the regular season. Like we could have beat so and so maybe. And I'm like, we're 6-3 and made the playoffs for the first time in 20 years since 2014. It's okay.
I
We don't
know
need to.
it. You find out how fair weather everybody is. You win a few games, they're all on your side, and you're great. You lose one game, and you don't know what you're doing. And I, when I was coaching high school, sometimes I'd just keep the headset wouldn't even be turned on, but I'd still keep it on so I didn't have to listen to anybody.
Mm-hmm. I don't like the ones with the 2. I just want the
No,
1. But when we're losing, I'm like, oh, maybe I want the two so I don't have to hear absolutely anything. That would be the only time. Or like, hey, I'll go be in the car. Like, I'm just gonna go with the car. We're getting blown out by 30 or 40. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the car. I don't want to hear
No
this
doubt.
anymore.
I can't stand the double headsets either.
Mm-mm.
And the
No.
ones we use them, we use the headsets at practice now. That's
Okay.
something that we started doing the last couple of years that I really, really like. Not the entire practice, but like when we're doing team or when they're
Hmm.
doing 7-on-7, things like that. And it's an older set, and the set we use at practice, you just pop the little battery in the side
Yeah.
piece, and there's no wires or anything. And then our nicer game day ones, you got the little unit on your hip
Yeah.
and the line, the cords, and all that stuff. And if you don't have that little magnet thing on there, the cords draping down by your foot.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the wireless ones. They're the best. Uh,
We
Unless I
were
get the
we
really expensive ones.
we went to I went to the national convention for the first time a couple
Okay.
weeks ago
Yeah.
in Nashville, and going in the big expo hall, and you got to see all the new toys and the headsets, and it's like, well, that's a nice set of headphones. How much is that? Well, five headsets, that's going to be about $10,000,
Yeah.
coach. It's like, oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna keep walking. The best is I've never been to that one. I just go to the normal ones where they normal glacier clinics. I don't know if
Yeah,
I give the vibe of a head coach, but anytime I walk by anywhere, coach, come here, like you want to buy this? And I'm like, and they'll tell me how much it is. And I'm like, well, I'm not the head coach, so I can't make this. They go, oh. And I'm like, do I just give off the vibe that I'm a head coach because I'm just walking by? And they're like, oh yeah, yeah, five headsets, $10,000. I'm like, yeah, no. We got a fundraise for that? No, thank you.
we were just laughing about that. It's we're because the X it was at the Opryland Hotel, which is humongous, and the big convention expo hall, it's huge. And we're walking through, and I was like, and I told my buddy, I said, I always feel like I'm at the carnival, where all the
Mhm.
carnival games are, and the toothless guys yelling at you to come over and buy 3 softballs and throw them in the basket. And he's just like, I just try to keep my eyes forward and not make eye contact with anybody. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not like I'm afraid to talk to strangers, but it just like it's that almost like that high pressure sales
Mhm.
conversation. Let's get you signed up. Let's do this. It's like, well, no, I'm in no position to want to do these things.
No. And then the one time I did go with my head coach, people were grabbing him, talking to him, and he's nice. And he goes, oh yeah, just give me your thing, we'll talk. We walk over and he throws it in the trash can. He's like, no, we're not buying that because there's so many things to buy. Like there's headsets, there's these iPad things where you could like send the play to them on the field and they look at it and they want, and it's all this stuff, which is awesome. But it's like, we're not the type of school to get that, buddy. Like our kids don't pay to play. We got to fundraise for everything. That's not happening.
Yeah,
Nope.
well, a couple pancake breakfasts, and no.
I wish we sell those cards and stuff and it's like, hey, we need that money to get them protein. We don't need the money to get them. We would love to have the little mini iPads on their belt that sends the play out to them for scout and they just look at it and they go, cool. I think I'm okay with paper and like, hey, just do this. We don't need that.
I still go back and forth. I mean, I know my way around huddle pretty good,
Yeah.
but going in and drawing up play cards, and I'm not knocking it because I used to have what was the old software, Playmaker Pro,
Yeah. Yep.
and I used that for everything. And then to me, it's just like I think I'd rather just get a piece of paper and a Sharpie and draw some stuff on it and go, here you go, do this.
Yeah. That's they some of our coaches use the PowerPoint and I can't stand it because I'm not good with it because you have to make the lines and like actually click and find it. Like our OC does that. He's really good at it. He does PowerPoint, that's where his playbook is. Then when I put installs in, it's all on Huddle. And that's all I do. Or I can screenshot it on the computer and like put it on a PowerPoint. Like here it is. I don't need to draw the PowerPoint. And he will send me the playbook and like, yeah, just update it on the PowerPoint. And I just screenshot or a scouting report too. It's on PowerPoint and he does that. I'm like, you can see where he edit because he does the passes and I do the runs. You see his in the PowerPoint. And once you get to mine, it's all screenshot Huddle. And they're like, oh, Coach Steve did this one because and I'm like, I'm not good with it. It's too much work.
Yeah.
I'd rather just do huddle. Huddle's quicker. I can just boom, 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 done.
Yes.
Or like you said, print it off and it has the title like of the install. Like here's our inside zone. You print it off, staple and give them to them. Like, hey, it even has it has a title for you kids. So you won't lose it. And they all do. Even the head coach does PowerPoint. I'm like, guys, how did this become a thing? I don't know. Somebody probably taught them and they just went with it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
or the other one's Game Strat. I think people are going to that one now.
One stop stick. I'll stick with one stop shopping with Huddle.
The only I don't. You guys probably can. We have Huddle sideline where we can get the play right after. So offense goes out there, comes back. We can rewatch everything.
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah, we can, but it only worked 6 games out of the 9 of the regular season. Like that's the biggest headache is getting it to work because it's got to
Yeah.
sync right. It's got to get to the iPad down there. Last year we had it for like 2 games. This year we went 6 in a row. 7th game it didn't work. I'm like, well, we had a good run. Like we had it for 6. It's okay.
I remember we were recruiting at a high school game in our area, and they had one of the big 70-inch school
Hmm.
TVs out there, and they had kids with drones
Oh,
filming stuff. And
yeah.
what I really liked though was how if you had a kid like inputting in real time
Hmm.
on an iPad while it's going down, I like that
Yeah.
because when we get done with the game, I am in no mood to grade that night. But I try to like if we play our home games on Friday nights.
Yep.
So we play, I wouldn't mind I like starting grading on Saturday, grade a little bit, go do something, come back, grade a little bit. But until everything gets inputted in, there's a couple coaches that do that. And if something happens and they can't do it right away, because I can't grading a film without having the play call
Right.
or things like that. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right. Well, we do the huddle assist. So it gets sent to them. They do it. Besides, I mean, it's not gonna have the right formation and stuff, but at least it does 1st and 10, whatever.
Yes.
We wake up Saturday morning, it's done. Like by the time we're woken up, it's done. So at least we can go to the run and the pass. Then we can go in and put our formation or what it is. That's all we have to do, which is a lot easier than trying to figure all that out. I've done that where it's like 1st and 10. All right, what happened on this play? Is that a flag? I guess it was a
Yeah.
flag. So you lost it. Like,
Yeah. We do the huddle assist for the hash mark and the ODK and everything. But if I don't have the play, if I don't see a play call, because we have a guy up in the booth during the game that he'll chart everything,
yeah,
what their
yeah,
formation was, what our defensive call is, and but there we weren't making copies of it. When I was in the booth, I would make as soon as we get done with the game, I'd go down to the copy machine and I'd run because it wasn't my job to input it into Huddle. So
yeah,
I would just give everybody a copy of the play sheet and say, okay, if you want to start grading now or tomorrow, here you go, until
right,
everything gets put in.
right. People don't know how hard everybody works at high school or college or junior college level. That's a lot of work for the
Oh
pay
yeah,
that you get. Oh, they don't know that. Um, Maybe a dumb question. Has the transfer portal affected recruiting for junior college, or is that just more that?
that's all we talk about right now. And
Oh,
we call it the JUCO transfer portal
yeah,
because like in our world, if it's the spring semester right now, somebody could leave Laney and all they have to do is go establish 12 units at another school and then be enrolled in 12 units during that next season and they're good to go.
yeah,
And you get it. We spend a lot of effort continuing to recruit our own guys in house during this spring semester because I mean, at least up until the start of the spring semester, because
right,
now that they're enrolled in their units with us, it'd be pretty hard for them to go find a bunch of late start classes at another school and establish themselves there. But the big one is with the transfer portal, The high school kids are really losing out because they're the last ones to get recruited, and then they're waiting more than ever on our community college guys. I've heard a bunch of coaches talk about it where why wouldn't I get a guy out of the transfer portal that has Division 1 or Division 1 AA experience, and he
Hmm.
knows what the expectations are, and we can figure out what his flaws are and see if we can fix them, instead of going with an unproven guy from a community college. And then our guys don't help themselves out. I have a kid that has been Utah State, New Mexico, all kinds of schools were looking at him, and he would have been defensive player of the year, except he got injured towards the end of the season and missed a couple conference games. And he needed to take some intercession classes so he'd be ready to go, and he dropped the intercession class, and now he's got to go a whole spring to get these units. And it just, good guy,
Yeah.
great football player, but just, and we have a dedicated academic counselor that works with all our guys, and said, if they drop, if there's something wrong, he
Hmm.
knows right away. And some of them don't want to put the work in,
Right.
because like an intercession class, I mean, that may only be, you got to do a semester of college work in 4 weeks. So,
Right.
it's like any kind of summer school environment where you're going to be there for a while, and you got to do the work.
Hmm.
But when a Division 1 scholarship's waiting on the other side of that effort, it just makes you, why wouldn't you do that?
Right. Yeah, because some coaches, I don't believe what I see on TV with ESPN and Fox. The transfer portal gets blown out of proportion and recruiting gets blown. So I ask people that are actually doing it. And I've gotten most of the same answers, but some I'll ask that question like, well, how's the high school kid of being affected? And they tell me like we still recruit high school and everything else. It's if they're freshmen or sophomores, but there's a senior in the transfer portal, we're gonna grab him. We still have this kid. Now that kid might leave, and that's what they're dealing with. And then a coach said this to me. He goes, now 10 years ago, certain kids in high school were going Division 1. Now the transfer portal's hit, maybe that particular kid is now going FCS instead of Division 1 because they don't need that. So he's like, yeah, maybe in that world they're affected, but he's like, they're still going to get recruited from somewhere that just normally would be Illinois or normally it's this. Now it's FCS. Now it's Division
Yeah.
Two, or maybe they do go the college or junior college route now to just to say, hey, I'm going to go here for a year and get film and then try again, and that's where it's all being affected because you still have COVID players in college too. Like
No
they're still
doubt.
there. And so it's just it is the Wild West, but then it's like some of these college coaches, they're just like working. Oh, I mean, they're working extra harder, like at the big time. They're like, we're on campus more. They're coming to campus and they're like, how much money am I going to make? They don't look at everything else. Like, well, how much money am I about to make? Which all for getting paid. That's awesome. But now that's what they're worried about. They're not worried about the coach. They're not worried about the facilities. It's, well, this kid at this school is making this money, so I could get this money. And it's like, well, we can't tell you that. We can't promise that. That's not
No
us.
doubt.
That's the collective. And so it's just a mess.
We were at the convention. We went out to dinner with the field turf guys, like
Hmm.
the vice president of the company and his right hand guy. And the big things that were brought up was that, and the fact that these kids are making all this money, but there's no financial literacy
Nope.
teaching going on in their lives. So it's like, okay, here's $1 million. But what do you do with that $1 million besides,
Hmm.
I mean, of course you're going to go on a spending spree, and a kid that age is going to go buy an Xbox or a PlayStation. They're going to get a car, and there's a short list of things, but it's like, after that, how do you invest your money? How do you make sure you don't get into credit card debt? How do you make sure of all those things? And there's really not a lot being taught to those kids as far as, services and things. I heard, we were talking yesterday at the college, Now agents are going to start negotiating
Hmm.
NIL deals,
Yep.
and they're going to charge 20%. So whatever that kid's making, where normally an agent fee is usually around 10%,
Yep.
and they're gonna double that. And they're okay, we got you this great NIL, and now you're gonna give me a lot of that.
Hmm.
I
And
mean,
then
we have kids, they're coming to us like, well, what are you gonna pay me? It's like, hey, buddy, we're a community college. You know, we're proud that when we every day there's a culinary program on campus, and we send one of our coaches over in the cart, and he comes back with boxes of food,
mhm,
chicken and rice, or just a meal where that was something that was unheard of before.
right.
I'm just happy. And we've also partnered with food banks. So when they come in back into the building, who needs milk, who needs chicken, who needs canned goods, because a lot of our guys are they're scrapping,
Hmm.
and they're betting on themselves where,
Right.
not living great. It might be six to a two-bedroom place with six guys living in it.
Right.
But at least we can make sure they're fed. Now, after that, it's like there's no money coming your way, kid.
It's like, hey, when you get money, I want the money too. Where's my raise? Like, guy, like, hey, guy, I don't get a raise.
I know. I've always said, I just ask for a shirt. When they go somewhere, it's like, just give me a shirt, and I'll put the shirt on, and I'll tell people I know you.
Yeah. One of my friends said this to me. I didn't think of this. He's like, do these kids know that this is income? And now what about taxes on this income? Do they know that they have to do all that? They probably don't. They're probably not thinking that way.
No, but something's going to have to give on this. I mean, they're going to have to put caps on things, and it just. But it's like everything else. The needle was all the way over to one side,
Hmm.
and where the athletes were really losing out. I mean, if your likeness is on the video game and the school's making millions of dollars, you should get something off of that.
Right.
If your face is on the billboard coming into town, your jersey's being sold in the bookstore, there should be something.
Hmm.
Just as far as I you can get recruited to a school, and now your head coach makes a decision to go somewhere else because it's in his best interest, career wise and financial wise. You should have an option too,
Hmm.
because I mean the NCAA, I don't want to say got over, but I mean they made it to where the rights of the athlete weren't really being heard. And
Hmm.
now, after years of that, it's gone all the way over to the other side, where now the world is theirs and they can do whatever they want. And it's sooner, I don't know how, but sooner or later, the needle's got to come to the middle to where it's like, I heard Dion say, it's like there should be a date that you can't, like the transfer portal should have a beginning and an end date, so that
Hmm.
you can't just say, you know, you get a wild hair on a Monday 2 days before practice starts and you're in the portal.
Right.
I mean, we've had guys do that. One of my best defensive linemen ever was at Oregon State, and then had an unpleasant conversation with the head coach a couple of years ago. Went in the portal, and next thing you know, he's at Michigan.
Hmm.
Now that's that great opportunity for him. He enjoyed his time playing at Michigan, got to play in a champion, a playoff game, and great. But when can they do that? I mean, I know a coach. I mean, there's contracts, and you're giving up money and things like that, but they can leave whenever they want.
Hmm.
There, I think for stability, there should be the period where if you're going to go somewhere else, this is the period that
Right.
you can do it. Just like I believe there should be a cap on how much. Oops, sorry about that. There should be a cap on how much you can make under that NIL. And I know that not everybody. I mean, it shouldn't be even for the fourth string kicker as it is for the starting quarterback.
Right.
But there should be something to where it's not out of control the way it
Right.
is now.
Yeah. I told the coach, like, I was like, I think I solved it. And they go, well, how would you solve this? And I said, well, let's make it where they get a scholarship. They're allowed one free transfer. Like they can only go one time. They get an extra one if the head coach leaves. Like, because I get it. Head coach leaves, that's what you're there for. He leaves because they're allowed to leave. You get an extra one. But it can't be whenever you want. Like you said, it's in this time period. Like, okay, the head coach left. You get this period when this comes to leave. But like you said, even head coaches, like, should there be a thing that says, hey, you signed a 3 year deal, you got to go be here for two and can't leave? Or is it this period? Like, I think it has to be for coaches and players because, like I said, coaches leave whenever they want.
Yeah.
And it's quick with the way college works. Like, they're gone in November or whatever before the bowl game, like it or whatever. And it's like, oh, this sucks. And then they're hiring people and pulling guys. And it's just literally, it's a carousel.
Yeah. Well, that was embarrassing, that Florida State bowl game, where just everybody decided not to play or got in the portal. And I mean,
Yeah.
just it's not a good look for what everybody's doing.
No, no, because I love bowl games, but when that happens, you're like, oh, like this is bad. Like way back, we all grew up playing NCAA football. Like bowl games meant something back in the day. Now it's watered down a little bit,
Yeah.
especially the guys that maybe aren't making all that money and they're walk-ons and they're playing really hard. And they see a guy like, well, I'm not going to play. And it's like you're kind of slapping the face into those people a little bit that have been there with you all year to get you there. And now you're not going to play.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, I try to look at all sides of things because we had a guy a few years ago at Laney. He had some ankle issues.
Hmm.
He was, but probably could have gone for the bowl game we were in. He decided not to go to play in the bowl game, because he's got a full ride scholarship. This is a different guy than the defensive line, but a full ride scholarship to Oregon State lined up. And I mean, if you have something big like that on the line,
Hmm.
maybe because I mean, you see when a guy gets his knee blown out in the Senior Bowl, or a guy gets a big time injury in a lesser bowl game when he has a really good shot of being a late round draft pick or a free agent signing in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's all this is just a weird time where it's like every man for himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where everything you're taught from the first time you ever play a down of football is everything's about the team. It's not about you. Be selfless. You know, ask how you can help. And now players and coaches, everybody's, when coaches have agents, what do you
Yeah.
do?
They're going to get theirs. That's what everybody's thinking. They're going to get theirs. And then that freaking portal, it's not guaranteed. You can hop in there. Not guaranteed you're going to get what you want.
Yeah. I mean, I consider myself very lucky because, I mean, you can get fired from any job. You
Right.
can get fired from a high school job. You can get fired from a Pop Warner job. But the job stability is a lot more in at the community college level. And I tell my guys, this is the last happy stop on your trip.
Hmm.
Next place you go, that coach is where his kids go to school, where his wife's circle of friends are. All depends on what you do. And
Hmm.
I would think about how my attitude towards things would change. That if we have a bad year, I have to tell my family, hey, guess what? Not only I got to find a new job. Odds are the new job is going to be nowhere near the old job. So
Right.
get ready.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one thing that I saw at the national convention. They had an area where they just had a bunch of big bulletin boards set up, and
Hmm.
it was just every GA in America was up there stapling their resume onto the bulletin board. That was one of, like, I gotta say, it was like a little bit of a disappointment for me. I think I was kind of like somebody says, well, I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm just going to walk down the street and bump into every movie star there is.
Hmm.
And I did not see, one coaching celebrity.
Right.
You know, I know Matt Rule was there speaking, but
Yeah.
I didn't see Matt Rule anywhere. But I guess kind of naively, I thought, well, I'm going to be in an elevator and I'm going to get to say hi to Nick Saban or something like that.
Right.
And it just, like I said, just a bunch of young guys trying to make sure that they had a job next year.
Yeah. That's why sometimes I wish I went the college route like that. But then I see all that. I'm like, maybe I'm kind of glad I didn't. Kind of like, I maybe a couple years ago, somebody goes, "Oh yeah, we have a GA spot. You want to come?" I'm like 29, 30. I'm like, no, it's too late now. I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not going to go make $800 for a semester and do all this and just hope and pray that 6 years later I get a job. Like I know some have done it. A coach I had on
Sure.
here, he's at Minnesota State. He was a cop, wanted to coach, sold his house, drove straight to Minnesota State and said, I'm here to coach. Lived off the house money, so he found a way to do it. But he's like, if I didn't have the house money, I don't know if I could have survived. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be me dropping everything and be like, I'm going to sell everything I own, maybe get $10,000 and then go. And then hopefully 6 years later, I get a job that gives me 20 grand and like all this stuff. Like I can't do it. If I was 21, maybe,
Yeah.
not now.
I That's one thing I've noticed, that the football world does a really good job of making sure that nobody's rising up the ranks too fast.
Yeah.
They make sure that you have to put in your time in the beginning and do all the grunt work and make sure everybody has coffee and not make any money.
Hmm.
And I that
Attention students, attention students.
the the
Jaden
joys of
School.
high
Williams,
school.
come to main office.
Oh yeah.
Jaden Williams, come to main office. Thank you.
And I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna do this from school, just because it'll be quiet. It'll be more quiet.
This is raw and uncut. It don't matter. Real
I
life.
hear you. I used to have an office, and now it's a catch-all.
Oh yeah.
It,
Yeah. The
it's
office is
where
the weight room.
everything goes when company's coming over. Let's make sure we get everything out of sight.
Yeah, your office is the weight room now.
That's it. I There is a little ratty office in here. I When I was at the other high school, I had a really nice office in the weight room, and that was my little sanctuary.
Hmm.
Now I I'm a gypsy because I share a PE office here.
Yep.
I don't coach any sports, so there's nothing, no reason to ask for a little space. I mean, this weight room that I'm in right now, this is pretty much my weight room. Everything, almost every bar and plate in here was stuff that I brought over from the other high school. So I feel good in here. But even at Laney, I don't have an office.
Hmm.
I mean, there are places I can get stuff done, and
Right.
other offices that have, if I need to get in front of the computer and knock something out real quick, I can do that. But the running joke is I've been there 13 years and I don't have a key to the building.
But that's just more responsibility. You're like, that's okay.
I hear you.
One less thing I
And
do.
but like when I see some of the people that do have, like, the building is on a fob now, so that's real easy.
Yeah.
Everything locks behind itself. But even like rookie people here at the high school or on the main campus where you have to use a key, I just like, hey, you have to treat schools and prisons. You better make sure every door you open, you better lock and shut it behind you, because you never know what's going to happen. And I see guys leave stuff open. I'm like, what are you doing?
Our school is the same thing. It's a fob to get into the school. And then we have a master key where we can open any door in the building. Every staff member has one. But I'm the same way. Like you have to turn it this way to unlock it. Then as I open it, I'm spinning it back the other way so it's locked behind me. It's just a habit now. And sometimes I do it at home. If I'm unlocking the door, I go to spin it back. I'm like, oh, I don't have to do it here. I lock it from the inside. But I do the same thing because, like, one, you don't want the boss people to come in and just open it. You want to hear them coming. You want to sign. Two, you don't know what kid's going to just come open the door
Right.
or steal something. Like, never. Like, oh, these kids won't do that. I'm like, uh-huh. Sure they won't.
I know. It's the reason why I don't have 25-pound dumbbells in here.
That's why, like at our school, we have a coaches center and it's mainly for head coaches. So there's desks and it's for head coaches, but we can all hang out there. There's couches, there's a TV. I'm not saying it's nice, but it was made for that. It's just head coaches. Well, during COVID, I noticed during COVID and coming into the next year, there was this desk not being used by anybody. Whoever the head coach was doesn't use it anymore. I just made it mine. Never asked. I just started sitting there. Then it just became my desk. I just started leaving stuff. I don't care what they take. It's just coaching stuff. It's papers, it's a whistle, it's hats. Now it's become mine. So I finally opened the drawers up and you're finding all the old coaches' stuff. I'm like, throw out, throw out, throw. And it's been that way for 3 years now. Nobody has said a word to me, like not being a head coach. I'm like, well, this is my desk now. So I have a desk. I just took it over.
But you squat long enough, it's yours.
Well, yeah, I was like, I don't need anything. And then a year goes by and you see some not being used, even though there's an old name on there. And I know they still work in the building. And I'm like, well, I'll wait to see if that person uses it. Never saw them. And I was like, all right. And then somebody gave me a chair. They're like, here's a chair we're not using. Just start sitting there. I'm like, all right, this is my desk now.
That's I have to say that there's a certain thrill working at a high school when you find a desk somewhere or an office chair somewhere.
Yeah.
Because we in the I've been at this high school for 14 years now, and our district we've ordered new furniture 3 times. I've never seen new furniture, but we've ordered new furniture 3 times. I don't know what they do with those orders. Maybe one day we'll get some stuff. Although I almost don't want to get stuff because every time they're saying, well, because we have our main gym and we have an auxiliary gym.
Yep.
And we're going to have to use the auxiliary gym as a staging area to put all the office furniture together for all the teachers and things like that. And it's just, you just know, it's like, okay, you're going to steal that gym for an entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the guy like, what do you mean you have to do the AP tests in here? You can find
Yeah.
somewhere else to do these AP
Oh,
tests.
yeah.
Don't take my gym.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I mean, once upon a time, you know, the people that were admin at your school might have been oh, that was my old coach or that was my old science teacher, and they move up the ranks and you have those kind of relationships with them. And now you get a rotating group of admin that come through for 2 or 3, maybe 4
Yep.
years if you're lucky. You're like, well, we need your gym for this and we need your gym. No, you don't need the gym for that.
We have
We
classrooms.
fight hard. Yeah. We fight real hard now to make sure that nobody comes in and uses our stuff.
That happened to me last year, 2 years ago. They had something set up in the field house with all the tables and chairs for these kids to do this test. School ended. Downstairs, I change. I'm walking up the stairs to go to basketball practice. Coach, we can't practice in there. And I said, why? And they, well, there's tables and chairs set up. So I popped in. They never took them down. They're just all over the place. So I guess what we're doing for the first 15 minutes of practice, we're taking all those down and we're just folding the tables, getting the chairs. I said, and they're like, where do you want us to put them? I want you to throw them to the side. That's not my job. Throw them to the side. And I got in trouble. Steve, you could have put them on the cart. And I'm like, it's not my job. Why is this set up? And then they go, well, we have to set up again tomorrow. And I'm like, again, not my problem, not my job, not my problem. I just wasted 20 minutes practice getting this set up or taking it down. Not my job. Don't put them in here then. Put them in classrooms. I don't know what to tell you.
I know. I used to pride myself on being like the flexible guy. Like, well, we're all in this together. You know, I'll do my part and help out. And now it's just like, no, you can't use our world.
No.
Like right now, we have a lot of clubs on campus, and they've started a badminton club. And the badminton club sends me an email. Well, we need access to all your equipment, your nets, your rackets, your birds. We need access to your gym 15 minutes before the end of class so we can start setting up. And my response to that was no. It was
No.
no. That's it.
But thanks.
and then I put my name at the bottom of it, but it's just like no. And if it's already set up, you can use it,
Mhm.
but you're not using our equipment. I mean, last year we got $5,000 to spend on PE equipment, which I was thrilled.
Yeah.
You know, but once you start ordering from that Gopher catalog, you realize that $5,000 doesn't go as it gets you some stuff, but it
Yeah.
doesn't go as far as you think it would.
Right.
And that was probably the first time in 8 years that we got money for PE equipment. And I'm a good PE teacher. I love badminton. You know,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite units. And that's why I go ape when kids are high-fiving with the rackets or somebody gets mad and they're
Yeah.
showing where the bird hit and they're tapping the ground with the thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you guys don't get this.
No,
If
this stuff's expensive.
when these break, and it's great. A $30 badminton racket is still a crappy badminton racket, and they don't last very long. And then the bad part is like when it does break, we're not going to be able to buy a new one anytime soon.
No, it's gonna be 8 years.
And then if you get the $100 racket, then you got to worry about high school kids chasing each other around. Or my favorite, when they act like they're leading the parade and they throw the thing 10 feet in the air and do a twirl and try to catch it. It's just,
Like, you kids don't get it, or like, give me that. This is only coaches.
Yeah.
That's only coaches.
it's the same line. This is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things.
What's up, Coach? Are you guys coming in? All right.
Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. Always good.
Heck yeah.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me on. We'll have to do this again soon.
Absolutely.